Hello and welcome to Surveyor Says, the podcast from the National Society of Professional Surveyors. Each week, we bring you fascinating guests that are involved in the profession of surveying. We cover a lot of ground, including Table A Talk with Gary Kent, Point of Order with the NSPS Joint Government Affairs Team, Future Focus, highlighting current and future leaders of the profession, and everything survey-related in between. Thanks for joining us here on the podcast, and hope you enjoyed listening to this episode of Surveyor Says.
Greetings to all. This is Curt Sumner, your host today for the NSPS podcast series Surveyor Says. Glad to have you with us again today. We really enjoy doing this program or these podcasts. It gives us an opportunity to share more easily with our members what's going on in the organization. It gives us a chance to talk directly to people who are very involved and are part of the framework. And of course, modern day communication makes that a lot easier than it was at one time in the past to get committees together. Because before what we have today, it was mostly during meetings people would meet, or maybe they do a conference call or something. But certainly through the use of the platforms that we have now makes it a lot easier for people to participate, which means we get better results, of course. But the main thing that helps us to get better results is the dedication of the people who participate, particularly the chairs of the committee, because they get that responsibility. So today I'm really happy to have David Acosta with me. David is the chair of the NSPS Diversity Committee. He's obviously a surveyor. Before we came on air, we were talking a bit about some of the things that he's doing and some of the things I did back in the dark ages, and it was the same thing, different way of doing it. But it's always interesting to talk about what's going on. But thanks for joining me today, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Curt. I'm glad to be here, be a part of today's episode. And I look forward to the discussion. With the Diversity Committee, we've been able to, some are probably familiar with the poll we had come out last fall. And, with the committee, that was one of our actions we wanted to take. We wanted to be able to gather some information that we could study and be able to pass over to the other committees that will help them in what they're trying to do. So I'm glad to be here today.
One of the things that's really good about the Diversity Committee is that the composition of the committee matches the name of the committee. We have a very diverse group of people involved in every different way. Age, of course, being one of them, which is a good thing because we can share experiences and share new ideas and those kind of things. But a really good mix of surveyors from around the country and people in the surveying profession, whether or not they may be licensed, but nonetheless are part of the profession. And so I think that really helps your efforts because you guys don't sit around like we used to in the old days and they wonder what they think about this. You actually have people who can tell you what they think and how their peers think. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit, maybe the breadth of the types of people who are part of it.
Yeah, no, you said it right. We are a diverse group and we wanted to make it that way on purpose because like you mentioned, it's we wanted to be able to get as many perspectives as we could in order to have a non-biased look at what we were doing here, and to also promote that surveying could be for anybody, and luckily we have a lot of experience for people that have been in surveying for a while, both men, women, young, like you said, licensed, not licensed. Those are important too to what we're talking about and considering here, because it's not just about licensed surveyors or professional surveyors. We are not just a one-man team by any means. We need a whole team of people to be working with us. So it's important to consider what their thoughts are and consider how we're setting up everything for the future and moving forward. So, it's great that we get together. It's funny because you had mentioned, there's a lot of participation in this committee in particular, and this is one of the main committees that I've been a part of. So I may not have known any better, but we've had quite a few meetings and discussions that, like you say, it's been nice that we can operate virtually to accomplish this and don't have to wait to gather up once a year. We've been able to make some pretty good progress. I would have liked to have done even more, but coming into later in the spring, we had a little bit of a gap that we hadn't met. But we recently met in August. We're gearing up for September 22nd for the NSPS committee meetings. And so we have some pretty exciting tasks that we're creating for that as well.
Yeah, and if all goes well and we don't have a relapse, so to speak, it'll actually be a time when people can sit across the table from each other. And although this is a great platform because we can see each other, but that sitting in the same room together certainly helps as well. And so it's been a while since we've been able to do that, and hopefully conditions won't sneak up on us at the very end and cause us not to be able to do it. But as of right now, it's a go.
Right. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too. It's like, oh man, I hope we don't get shut down. I do value the face-to-face time that we get to have with everybody. I was fortunate enough to be at the last NSPS meeting before COVID, which was in Florida. And so I kind of got to see how everything's laid out and how the group operates. But I certainly hope that we get to meet in face-to-face, because we plan on doing some activities while we're there that are going to help to get people interested into promoting and doing outreach.
Well, obviously diversity is a broad topic. Maybe you could share with our listeners as much as you want to about some of the things you guys have been working on and talking about.
Yeah. So first off, personally, the word diversity always gets mixed reactions from anybody. I think there's a lot of different ways that somebody can interpret that word, and I've seen it. I've just seen people react differently and maybe get the wrong idea of what we're discussing here when we say diversity. Ultimately, what our committee was created to do was just to create awareness, and as kind of looking in the mirror to say, who are we as a whole? Who are we as a body of surveyors, and who lives in this space, and what are those people doing? And so that's what we're aiming to do, to learn more about who we are so that we can create a better future moving forward. And it's looking at some of the hard facts too, some of the things that we may not want to see, or it's just not a comfortable conversation to have sometimes, and maybe that's why it's never been addressed. Everybody may not want to discuss that because it could bring out some emotions perhaps, and nobody really wants to take it there. But we're not doing ourselves any favors by ignoring it, some of those facts, just looking at what it is. It's okay. There's nothing we could do about the past, but there is something that we could do about the future. And so we want to just learn from this data and again create a better future for those coming in our footsteps.
Yeah, that's so true. That's the statement you said about it's difficult to take a look at yourself or situations or whatever the case may be. But I don't recall a lot of good things happening when you don't do that.
Right.
Really have to make the effort.
Absolutely. Even in our business, we always have to be looking at who we are and evaluating what we're doing on a constant basis in order to keep pushing forward and moving ahead and becoming better. So we're looking at, when we look at NSPS, we're on a pretty large scale. And we have 50 states that possibly have 50 different ways that they have a path to licensure, and whether they have 2 years or 4-year degrees, things of that nature. So that definitely adds to our identity about who we are sometimes, because we're not even sure from state to state, and it makes it hard to have something across the board, some type of rules, because it's just every area considers it differently, and I definitely think that that's a challenge when we're looking at this whole subject matter.
So are there any particular initiatives that have begun? I know there have been some polls maybe sent out, or some of the things you guys are looking at going forward.
Yeah, the polls were a huge thing to help us kick it off. We have participated. So a lot of our members have participated. For example, we have a group of women in our committee that have been part of the Women's Survey Summit in Texas. We've been on this podcast before, promoting women in surveying, and had other members of our group be a part of the podcast to tell their story, and just promoting that there could be survey stories from anybody from all walks of life. And just a lot of outreach as far as in February and March, when we had Surveyors Week, we had some initiatives going out there. We've been working with some outsiders. I know Trent Keenan, who was on your podcast last week, has been doing some great initiatives. So for right now, it's us taking back to our groups and being able to expand on what we're doing. But there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I think what we're doing right now is just formulating some thoughts that we can share with everybody. But it's actually pretty simple, Curt. The way I see it is it's as simple as these are some of the things that keep coming up as I look through these polls, as I look through this information. And it's one of them is, like I mentioned, is the education aspect of things. Some people want a 2-year, some people want a 4-year. When we can start to dial that in on a national basis, I think that's going to help us out. The other thing is the outreach. When you're looking at diversity, how can we bring more people into our profession? Well, we need to do a better job of getting out to the middle schools and high schools, promoting surveyors, being good role models, donating to some of these programs in the high schools and the middle schools so they can be aware, educating the public on what we do and who we are. I really enjoy going to career nights and STEM nights and things of that nature. And I like taking all my cool survey tools, my laser scanners and my drones, and just being able to educate people on who we are and what we do. And I get a lot of interest, not only from the students, but from the parents as well. They show a lot of interest in this, and it's important for them to know, because we just haven't done a good enough job of getting in there and promoting and making surveyor as recognizable as the word engineer, and we're getting there. We're making some progress, but still, again, a lot of work to be done. It's all about the mentoring and the promotion. We just really got to get the boots on the ground and get out there. That's one of the best ways, simplest and easiest ways that we can start to combat and make a better future for everybody coming in our footsteps. And I know it's hard. Everybody always says that surveyors by nature are more introverted, and that could certainly be the case. But we need to break that down, because we need to be extroverted now. And even myself, I think I used to be a lot more introverted, but after going and talking with students and being a part of the local college program here, it's kind of opened me up. And after you do it after a while, you start to become better at it, and it helps you learn too about who you are. And it's always nice. I always get good reactions about when I share what I do. One funny example is I was at a high school here in southern New Mexico, and I was talking to these students, and it might have been a tough crowd. I don't know how much genuine interest there was as I was speaking, but they were asking some good questions. But anyways, I'm taking the equipment back to my truck, and I'm putting everything away, and one of the students comes by and he sees my truck, and he's like, "Man, this is a nice truck. Oh, wow, you know what? Maybe I need to look at being a surveyor," after seeing that. It's like, it was funny. After all these things I told him, essentially that's what it was. And we do gravitate to surveying. All of us have our own stories. And there's so many stories. And that was one of the poll questions. How did you get into surveying? And it was interesting just to read all the different ways that people come in. but a lot of it is off a suggestion. Well, how can we start making suggestions to people to come into the career? Well, if a non-surveyor is going to make a suggestion, they at least have to be knowledgeable enough to tell somebody about it. Hey, a teacher or somebody, hey, you should consider doing surveying. You like outdoors or you like math or whatever, you should consider that. So it's, or they talk to one of us or they heard from this. It's just, it never is a waste. That's what I could say. Sometimes you might feel nervous to get out there and promote or go to a school. And it is at first, it is a little nerve-wracking because you're having to talk to some students. Some of them may not be paying attention, but some of them are. Even if you walk out of there with convincing one person and changing a life, that's pretty impactful. And I always think it's worth it. So those are some of the, just overall with these poll results and what I'm putting together, these are the things that keep surfacing. And it's simple enough instructions, but it just takes the effort to get up and do it. But one of the poll results or questions was asking people who wanted to, if they had an interest in being a part of reaching out. And so there was a lot of people that left their names. So, imagine that if I can expand on those names that were given and they go tell one person or three people and the word's just going to get out. So with our committee, that's what we're trying to do is kickstart an effort that can trickle down to all the states and to all the state committees and down so that people can just understand that that's what we need to be doing. When we're asking, why don't I have enough people to go hire? Where's my workforce at? Well, they're there. We just got to go promote to them. They're going to come to us.
Yeah, that's a really great point. It's easy to sit back and say, I can't find people to work, but it's a whole other thing to say, well, maybe I need to be proactive and go out and cultivate those people, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way to network in your community. I met a lot of people from schools, other contractors, other builders, developers, parents, people, they all love it. And some of them are really appreciative of us coming out. We've even given away a few drones at some of these career nights or career days for schools. And so I want them to remember our booth. Hey, the drone guys, we got a bunch of other careers all around the room, but I always like when we can have a little bit of a crowd at ours and to be talking to them and showing them what surveying is.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice, because if we just go to these events and we just stand there and assume people are going to come by and talk to us, that's really not ever going to happen. So,
no, not for surveyors. Maybe if you're over there and you're selling rocket engineering or something, and you got some really cool stuff like that, heck, you could just stand back. But there it is. We can't just show up. We got to make an effort, something special to stick out and attract people to you. And once you get them, you just start talking to them. Not every student that I talk to do I just go directly discussing a career and surveying. It's just more to learn about them and guide them, to give them encouragement in general. That's what I like. And if anything, they'll remember who the surveyor was that had some great words of inspiration for them. Even if they become a lawyer, a doctor, or whoever, it's still educating these future members of our society that are going to be in these positions, and that's important for them to know. Some of them, maybe politicians as well. So we want them to know and have a background of who we are and what we do.
Yeah, another good point. Again, we take things for granted, but if you ask most people what a surveyor does, most of the time they don't know, or they think it's some guy who shows up on the doorstep asking questions or something.
Right.
You're so right. I'd written down as we were talking, be proud. And that's, maybe that ought to be our slogan. I don't know, but
right, yeah.
It is something
Right.
to focus on. And then
Yeah.
the student competition or getting the students involved. And, that's and I use these terminologies because I grew up as a preacher's kid, but for me, they're spokespeople, but they're like disciples. We send them out and they spread the news about who we are. And
Yep.
that can happen to any of us at any age, but depending on your audience, it can make a difference who's carrying that message. So we obviously have to keep that in mind too.
Yep. Yep. Because anybody can be an influencer. So,
Yep.
you know, whether we realize it or not, people are listening, people are watching. So if we make that special effort, this is just what it's going to take. It's going to take us. It's no singular person or group that's going to make this change all single-handedly. It's a global effort.
Yeah, one of the other things I wanted to touch on a little bit is how appreciative we are of the help that we're getting overall, but in particular through the diversity committee from our friends at NCSS with
Oh, yes.
and all the things she's doing.
Yeah, Marissa Trimzalski's been a great addition to our group. She's been with us since the beginning, and with her background and networking and making connections and bridging that gap between NSPS and NCS. Not that there was a gap, but it's just she's been really there to kind of straddle the two and share information with us and efforts, and that's important because we're working together with them, and it's a great start in showing you know, our industry that we are making efforts to make this a better world for us, and we're considering how we can make this better. It's nothing that's going to stay forever. You know, as we learn and as we get better information, we're going to make better choices. But yeah, Marissa's done a good job of being in our group and introducing us, and even through her network and people that she knows, it's diversifying in that, you know, and who's watching us and who wants to be involved.
Yeah, I know one of the things that you guys were talking about was maybe getting more involved in the student competition and being part of that in some way. Obviously, if the students are already in school, they're headed toward the surveying profession, but at the same time, it never hurts to bolster their enthusiasm, so to speak. And I think the diversity committee is a good way to do that.
Yeah. And what goes along with that is I recall being in the student competition myself when I was over at New Mexico State, and I still have some really great memories of going and again, networking, meeting students, meeting other people. You know, that's what's one of the most important things about going to school, going to college, is that you're starting to meet people, you're starting to create the networking. And, you know, even to this day, a lot of the people that I do business with are people that I met in college, whether they were engineers or surveyors. So, you know, that's just a good way to get us a jump start on that.
So, as you said, we're looking forward to September coming up and being able to get together in person again. It's been a while since we've done that. Hopefully enough people will be able to come. We never know what's going to happen with the deal now, but I'm excited that we're going to be able to all get together and have conversations and move forward. And I don't know if I left out anything about initiatives you guys have been talking about, or just anything you want to share in general.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we want to. An idea we had in our last committee meeting is during the meetings on September 22nd is I'm going to be going around and asking some of the members that are present just some random questions, not random questions, but something like what's your typical day like as a surveyor? What's one of the most unique projects you've worked on? What's some of your favorite technology? Something, ask them about what type of mentoring they may have done. And it's just to try to get something going to where we can get others to participate and make some videos that we can share on social media, and just to highlight the diversity that we have as a body and get people to see, put a face and a name to associate that with something that they're doing in surveying. So that's something that we have coming up. So if you see me walking around, if you happen to be at the meeting, and you might see me coming around asking some questions, and so I appreciate your participation in that. But again, it's what we're doing with our committee is just understanding, gathering information so that we could turn around and share this with the NSPS body and others with other committees to help, what's effective and what isn't. And it's a pretty hot topic. And I think that's why the participation is there, because everybody understands the importance of this. And like I keep saying, it just trickles down from there. I think everybody is truly excited. We've had people who have requested, a lot of times you got to go pull people by the ears to be a part of this committee, but we actually have people that are asking to be on this, and I think that's a good sign. And so plenty of more to come, updates and actions coming from the Diversity Committee, and we plan to keep sharing that with everybody as we go along, and just to encourage the participation from everybody.
Yeah, well, I know I'm certainly eager to see how all this rolls out, and it's so important for us, not just as NSPS, but for the profession in general, to really take this on the way that you guys are doing it, because it's too easy to just assume it's going to take care of itself. And what we've proven over the years is that it isn't going to take care of itself.
No, it won't. It won't. And we've experienced that here on a state level where, our professional group, just assumed that everything was going good with the school, and that turned out not to be the case. So we really have to be involved, and we have quite the challenge here, Curt, definitely, with minimal people coming into the profession, and we need a lot of people to get the word out. It's a challenge, but it can be done, and I know we've talked about this before, and it's about having faith in it and encouraging other people. And I know I'm going to be doing the best job I can and influencing others, and if we can get that to catch that fever there to get the word out and have some tools for people, I think it can be accomplished. And when we can have this conversation again, or pull up the topic again in 5 years or 10 years, and just try to track the process that we're making in this as well. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, I'm certainly proud of the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Historically, our committees have not been able to be as effective as we want them to be, and of course, one of the things that makes it better now is what you and I are doing today, talking to each other from different parts of the country. And we have that advantage now, but we just have to make sure as a society and as a profession that we do take full advantage of all the tools that are in front of us to deal with the longevity of the profession, and as importantly, the diversity of who we are. So I appreciate everything you guys do.
Yeah, thank you, Curt. And I'm glad to have the opportunity to do it, and thanks for even Amanda Allred for bringing me into that, and really appreciate the opportunity and get to hang with you guys and everything. So it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being with me today. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to seeing you in a month or so, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see each other out there on the golf course.
Yeah. Well, if you see me, I'll probably be walking around hunting golf balls for somebody.
Well, maybe I'll meet you there in the trees there.
There you go. Thanks a lot, David.
Okay, Curt. You take care. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Surveyor Says podcast, brought to you by the National Society of Professional Surveyors. If you have any questions about today's episode or any other topic, please email us at info@nsps.us.com, and we are here to help. Visit our website, nsps.us.com, to learn more about our association, the programs we administer and support, our sustaining members, and information about future episodes of Surveyor Says. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, as well as our podcast host, Podbean. And remember, it's a great day to be a surveyor.